Welcome to AI Rounds, your weekly dose of AI in medicine and education.
We are your hosts, Dr. Nuria
and Dr. Morgan Leaf. Each week, we'll bring you a quick dive into the latest in artificial intelligence and how it's transforming healthcare, medical education, and medical communications.
From the tools changing how we teach, learn, and write, to breakthroughs shaping patient care. If it's new, exciting, or just plain useful, we're talking about it.
In just 10 to 15 minutes, we'll get you up to speed and maybe even spark your next big idea.
Let's make the rounds. Hi, Morgan. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Nuria?
I am doing well, living the dream. You know, like this being a freelance medical writer is so funny. I was telling you a week, 2 weeks ago that I felt like things had slowed down and I wasn't sure what was happening. And then in 1 week, we're both getting like all of these calls.
I know. It's crazy. It's like some times of year are a little bit predictable. Like I know enough now, like December is always crazy because people are at the end of their budget year and whatever. But the rest of the year, sometimes I just can't figure out the pattern of like when it's busy, when it's not.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I just had one client ask for 4 different projects, like in a row. There's one,
Wow.
there's another one, there's
Yeah.
another one. And then you also had a client reach out for 4 projects
Mm-hmm.
and another one saying that they want to like start the process for 13 projects.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit up and down.
It doesn't seem to relate to the quarters either, right? We're not,
Yeah.
it's not like we're at the end of, March, April, May, June. We're not quite at the end of Q2,
Yeah.
but maybe it is people planning for Q3. I don't know, but I'll take it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Work is good.
so long as I can see like something coming in, I'm good with that. All right. So, in addition to freelancing ups and downs, what I wanted to talk about today, something that like news that came out last week, I think it was last week, and that I thought was really interesting. So there's this mathematical problem that has been around for about 80 years. It's a problem in geometry. And let me share my screen. And I asked ChatGPT to create an image to explain what I am talking about. So the problem is, how do you put a number of dots, an X number of dots in space? How do you distribute them so that there's only 1 inch in between them, basically? And what it shows here is that you can go with like option 1, where you put them all in a line and then you have 8 pairs. So
Okay.
then the problem is like, but okay, so how do you maximize the number of pairs that are exactly 1 inch apart? So if you put them in a grid, you have 12 pairs.
Okay.
Right. And this had been kind of like the idea that was proposed 80 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It hadn't been proved up to now. Like it is just intuitively everyone thought that, yeah, putting them in a grid is probably the best way to solve this, right? To create the highest number of pairs that you can create.
Okay.
But what happened was last week, or like a few weeks ago, OpenAI came out with an article that they published. So these 2 researchers, mathematicians at OpenAI, have been like throwing different problems at ChatGPT to try and see, can ChatGPT solve these or not? And ChatGPT came up with a possible solution. And at first they were like very skeptical about it. And then they reached out to other mathematicians at OpenAI. I was listening to the podcast and it was very interesting. Like the first answer was, this probably like ChatGPT is hallucinating. That's not right. A few days later is like, it's 50-50. And then a few days later, they were like, no, I cannot find a mistake in its reasoning. And it seems like ChatGPT was able to disprove the solution that had been there for 80 years. That
Okay.
no one had been able to disprove before. So that was very interesting. And then I think right after OpenAI released this, I think Google also released like 8 other problems in geometry that Gemini had been able to solve or disprove or whatever. So the point that everyone was making is that this is new. This was a new thing that that the model
Yeah.
showed that could do, you know,
Right.
because there's like this argument, can the model really do new things? Or
Yeah.
is it just like bringing up ideas that were already there?
Right.
And a lot of people were arguing that no, this is genuinely new, and it shows that the models can come up with creativity. But then I was digging deeper, and I found out. So I was reading this article in Scientific American about this, and there was this mathematician, and she was like, actually, this is not that new. It is just that no mathematician had tried this. Most people were trying to prove it. No one was trying to disprove it,
Okay.
but that it is not that genuinely new, and also made a point to say that there were in the proof, there were steps that weren't cited, or in the disproof, there were steps
Right.
that like was math from that had been published
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't properly cited. So like
Okay.
we're still having this problem with the AI not citing the sources, and
Right.
in
Right.
academia, how can like what can we do about this? So I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if I agree with the scientist. I mean, she's a mathematician and I'm not, so
Right.
who am I?
Exactly.
But other mathematicians do say that they think it's genuinely new math. So yes, but I thought it was really interesting. What do you think?
Well, I think a couple of things. Number one, I hate math and physics. And this is why I hate math and physics. 'Cause God, and so I'm sorry if anybody in our audience is like a math major or a physics major in college, but all the problems they're trying to solve, I just think, who cares?
Uh-huh.
I get it. There's good intellectual exercise, and we've figured out a lot of things with math over the years. And I'm really grateful that we have people who are interested in this. But I will take biology and chemistry any day of the week because I feel like the problems we're trying to solve there, like, actually matter for humanity. That aside, I'm sorry if I insulted anybody. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad there are people who like to figure out if two trains leave the station at the same time going different speeds when they're going to cross paths or whatever it is. But as far as the math problem, and sort of what it means for us and what it means for, how does this relate to us as writers and things like that? I think that what's interesting, or my takeaway point, because I do not understand like this math problem in and of itself at all, is what we were just talking about in a previous episode about the jagged frontier, right? So,
Mhm.
like, maybe it did, maybe it didn't solve this math problem that nobody could solve. It sounds like that's a point of debate. But enough mathematicians think it did that's interesting, right? I mean, it at least did something that your general mathematician doesn't know how to do. So that's interesting. And it also can leave us saying, okay, how can it solve this math problem that almost nobody in the world can do? But it can't figure out how I want it to make one headshot for me at a time instead of four at a time? So it's like, it's a perfect illustration of that. And I think we've been seeing, correct me if I'm wrong, sort of from the beginning of these chatbots that math, I guess, because it's so concrete and objective,
Mhm.
has always been an area where it excels, right? The models excel more at things like that than like creative endeavors. What do you think?
Not necessarily. So there's
Oh, I guess it couldn't count the R's in strawberry. That was a problem.
so I mean, everything that is happening in AI is math.
Yeah,
Everything,
true.
right? It is every answer is because it calculated the probability
Yeah.
of the next word, and like it is all mathematical modeling.
Mm-hmm.
But and here is where differentiating between different AIs is very important,
Yeah.
because you have had machine learning and other types of AI being used in mathematical research for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
But LLMs, so large language models, which are the chatbots, were notoriously bad at math when they started. But
Yeah.
another thing that this thing showed, this thing was using an LLM. It was using GPT 5.5. So it wasn't a math or a statistical model. It was a model for predicting the next word, say a multimodal model, and it was still able to do this proof, right? To be able to do this anti-proof in correct correct mathematical reasoning all the way through. So this is new, that it can do complex mathematical reasoning is new from the LLM point of view. But yes, I mean, these models are very good at math because all that they do is very complicated math. Yes.
Yes, I see exactly what you're saying with that. And it's just how it's going to be for a while, right? Probably not for long, because probably pretty darn soon it's going to be really good at everything. And that's like almost the point that we're fearing, right? Is when it's really good at everything and it's better at everything than humans are, and it can do things with us.
That is what people at the big labs, that is what they say they want to create. I don't
Right.
know that they'll be able to. Up to now, everything has had this jagged frontier. One thing that I thought was really interesting and can be very informative for us is the reason why it was able to do this was
Hmm.
one, it wasn't trying to prove, it was trying to prove it wrong, right? Not
Yeah.
trying to prove it right, was trying to prove it wrong. But second is, it had to do something that was very tedious
Hmm.
to come up. So it had to go through lots of data points and do something like these experiments, like, because what you're trying to do is in space try to space these things and try to see what is
Right.
the thing. And it, because it is mathematical model and not a human being, it also could go away from like just two dimensions, and it could do things in space,
Right.
in fake space, which is harder for us humans to do. And the process, the steps were very tedious.
Hmm.
So that is like, from the beginning, we have known, like way before intelligent software was there, like the very beginning of AI type models that were all rule based, they are very good at going through lots and lots and lots of data
Hmm.
systematically
Yeah.
and finding whatever it is, something that humans would fall asleep, the models can do. And this reminds me actually of that story that I told you about. I can't remember the university. I want to say University of Michigan, but maybe it was New York, where there was an AI was being used to coach the residents, and then there was a problem with
Right.
the patient, and then the model that was being used to coach the residents went through all of the previous data from patients and was able to identify some of the fail points. And that is another example of this, of a model going systematically back and looking at lots of data. And that is something that we can use. We are not good at that. We can ask people to do this, but people get tired. When we make mistakes. These things don't get tired, and they make fewer mistakes in looking at lots of data and classifying it. So that can be informative about
Hmm.
where we use the model, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Absolutely. And it can do it so much faster too
yes.
than we could. That's a huge advantage, right? That's kind of, to relate it to medicine and medical scientific writing, that's kind of the promise of AI in drug discovery, right? In research and development, is how quickly it can just filter through all this data that would take humans forever to identify what might be a promising path to develop a drug, right? Yeah. Yeah.
And it brings it back to the thing that we say all the time, that instead of getting frustrated that the AI doesn't do our job the way we do it, maybe we should look for what is it that the AI is good at doing and that could help me with my job, and let it do that. And we keep doing whatever it is that we want to do.
Absolutely. I love it that AI is not good at our job because it keeps us having a job.
Exactly.
Well, let's wrap it up for today, huh?
It was lovely seeing you.
You too. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.